So we had big plans for October.
Big plans for October.
Big plans.
Big plans.
It is now November 2nd.
It is now November.
We missed it.
Yeah, we did.
But it doesn't mean we can't talk about it later.
Exactly.
We wanted to do like a Tim Curry horror-themed month.
Yeah.
That just did not happen.
It didn't.
Time got away from us.
Well, there was too much going on.
Yeah, and we made a horror short, so...
Yeah, we did. So, you know what? That makes up for it.
Yeah, it makes up for it.
Makes up for it.
We didn't do a podcast, but we made a short.
Yeah, we did.
In Pittsburgh.
Which
But-
I actually really enjoyed.
Yeah, it was a lot of
As
fun.
somebody who did, I think of Pittsburgh as like a rundown steel town. Granted,
Yeah.
I know that the city's getting better. I have family that was out there for school, so I knew it was getting better. I've been out there for a baseball game, but I haven't been out there at night. That city's beautiful.
It is.
It's really beautiful.
Like, when we got back, I started looking for jobs in Pittsburgh. Because why not?
Yeah,
But anyway, welcome to You Have to Watch This podcast. We're back.
we're back.
And we're talking about a little independent show that
Didn't get
it's starting to
funded.
get some buzz.
It did, and it's surprising because it's not on any major network either.
Yeah.
Like, that's the thing. Like,
Yeah,
it
it's like
got private funding and
Straight to VOD.
Yeah,
which is
straight.
all right, we're talking about Stranger Things.
Yeah, Stranger Things.
Because everyone else on the internet is talking about Stranger Things. I've seen so many Stranger Things related posts.
Yes.
Like McDonald's, like any company you can think of did something for Stranger Things. It's bizarre, and I love it.
Same here.
So the new season dropped last Friday,
Yeah.
and then my wife and I binged it and finished it by Friday night.
And my wife and I took it slowly. Well,
Yeah.
kind of slowly.
Yeah, I didn't want to binge it, but
Yeah.
we just kind of did.
Well, as soon as you get caught up in it, it's hard to turn off. And part of having it on, being on streaming online, it's hard not to just caught up into, well, I can just watch the next episode now.
Yeah.
Instead of being forced to wait.
Well, my wife works overnight, so
She's awake anyway.
She was like, "Well, when I get home from work, I'm going to wake you up when we're watching Stranger Things. Knock out a few episodes." I'm like, "Okay." We knocked out 3 that morning. Like, this is amazing.
Yeah.
Like, I went to work and was like, "I saw 3 Stranger Things, and no one else did." Then I got home that night, and then we finished it.
Okay.
So I finished it in the first 24 hours.
Yeah.
You took about a week.
Yeah, because we watched the last 2 episodes we had to watch last night.
Okay.
So
Overall impressions before we get into spoilers.
I liked it. Going from beginning to end, I definitely like this season. But going with the whole 80s theme, I'm going to parallel how I like season 2 compared to season 1 with the Ghostbusters movies.
Okay.
I love Ghostbusters 1. The first Ghostbusters was excellent. The second Ghostbusters, even though at first it didn't get the hype that it has now,
Yeah.
I definitely like Ghostbusters 2, but it's more fan service. It's more of the characters being a little bit more animated within their personalities. The gadgets they use are a bit more goofy. Just everything they do is just turned up just by 1 or 2 from the first movie.
Yeah.
And I liked it. I mean, it was made for the fans. It was made to be humorous, and it's a great entertaining movie if you like Ghostbusters. The first Ghostbusters, though, was a better movie.
Okay.
I feel the same way about season 2 of Stranger Things. The first season was excellent. It was done very well. The second season, and the Duffer Brothers, am I pronouncing
Duffer.
that? Yeah, the Duffer Brothers even said that season 2 was a bit darker, was a bit more on that end. So
Yeah.
I feel like season 2, for somebody who's a fan of Stranger Things, it was good. I mean, it wasn't as good as the first season, but I definitely
The first
enjoyed
season
it.
was more filled with what is this world that we're living in.
Well,
and
yeah.
establishing the rules
Yeah.
of the Upside Down and 11 and Hawkins in general.
Yeah.
This one is like, okay, you know the world that we're in.
Yeah.
Now let's play with it.
Exactly.
Where are these characters a year later?
Yeah.
And I really enjoyed it too. And it is a lot of fan service because there
Yeah.
are things in this that we'll get into that I didn't see coming until they happen.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, hell yeah. Like, I am all on board for this.
Yeah.
So, and there are a few other things that I saw coming. I'm like, oh, don't do it.
Yeah.
But We'll get into that.
I'm really hoping it's the same thing for both of us.
It might be. But yeah, so I don't know how we can really talk about it without getting into spoilers. I will say, before we get into spoilers, if you watch Stranger Things and then are still looking for more Stranger Things, Beyond Stranger Things on Netflix, the after show that they did with Jim Rash is phenomenal.
Yeah, we'll be starting to watch that tonight.
Yeah, it's really good.
Yeah.
Jim Rash is hysterical. He's just funny, and he knows what he's talking about. He's like, I'm pretty sure he won an Oscar for The Descendants.
Okay.
So he knows what he's talking about when it comes to all that.
Yeah.
And they've got pretty much the whole cast involved with it.
That's what I've seen. I was going through looking at the summaries of them, and they pretty much have everybody.
Yeah.
Which is good. One thing I think we can get into without spoilers is how many retro 80s references there were in this season. I know there was in the first one because it was 83.
I felt like they went a little less.
The music was a lot more top 40 80s than the first one.
Yeah.
It was a lot more top 40s.
Because I started watching season 1 again last night, and in the first 2 episodes, there were a lot of songs that I recognized.
There were, but in season 2, there were a lot of more lower chart top 40 songs that were from, and it was almost every single episode. An episode that didn't have anything serious going on was every single episode. And threw different aspects of 80s culture into the mix at the same time that I felt was a little bit more of a deep dive into it than they did in the first season. First season, it was, here's the story, this is happening, and it's happening in the 80s. They didn't do anything purposely to throw the 80s in your face when they did with this one.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that was one thing that I did actually kind of like about it. Like, they really looked at details. Like, something I'm going to point out that I pointed out to, well, actually, that my wife pointed out to me. When Will, I think it was either the first or second episode, Will is standing in front of the mirror. He's brushing his teeth or something. The Dixie cup dispenser, it's on the sink. She had and I had.
Oh, really?
Yes. It was the amber plastic looking thing that stood up on an angle, and you could only put maybe 15 or 20 cups in it at a time, and you pulled it out the bottom, and it had the plastic ring that decayed after like a year. Yeah. So then it like cracked and then didn't work, so they all just eventually just fall right out. Like, just little things like that, they made sure that they got. Like, everything in it.
Sorry for the spoiler there. Will brushes his teeth.
Will practices proper hygiene.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
An argument could be made.
Yeah, I know.
Trying to think if there's anything else non-spoiler related.
I mean, other than...
They added some good... Like, we'll get into details. Like, I really like the additions to the cast that they had.
I did too.
To a point.
I feel...
There's one that we will talk about.
Yeah, probably.
I think you and I are on the same page.
Hopefully.
But, yeah, like, Sean Astin and Paul Reiser were perfect.
Yes.
And it's great to, like because they're 80 references in themselves. Like, you got Paul Reiser from Aliens, and you got one of the Goonies playing with the Goonies, like the new Goonies.
Yeah. Exactly, and that's what I mean too about like the. I feel like we can get into the characters they introduce without telling what happens to them, without being spoilers.
I mean, I think it's going to be more spoilers.
Okay.
If just to be safe, we'll do a deep dive into everything with spoilers. That way we don't have to proceed with caution. Okay. But so I think that's it. I think at this point we're going to get into spoilers. So if you haven't seen Stranger Things, it's on Netflix. Go check it out, and then check out our podcast, and then go listen to go watch Beyond Stranger Things.
Exactly. Yeah.
And everyone from the show for the most part. But yeah, so spoilers. Where do you want to start with spoilers?
I want to start with the first 45 seconds of the first episode.
Okay.
And then get into episode 7.
So the Pittsburgh stuff.
I want to get into the Pittsburgh stuff and then get into episode 7 just to get that out of the way.
Okay.
If that's okay with you.
Okay, yeah. So anyone who doesn't like binge and doesn't know which episode you're talking about, you're talking about
The Lost Sister.
The Lost Sister.
Yeah.
So Yeah, go ahead. What do you got?
I liked the first 45 seconds of the season.
Okay.
I liked the fact that they showed, hey, she's 11, and what everybody thought was she's the 11th one. That was an idea. They pretty much proved it.
Yeah.
By showing that there is an 8, and they showed her in Pittsburgh. They ran out of a building. They didn't exactly explain, I think, either that they robbed it or they went in after somebody, which they show what they're doing later on. They're driving through Pittsburgh, getting away from the police, and she makes one of the police officers think that the bridge collapsed right behind them, so he stops. And her nose bleeds, and you see the tattooed 8 on her wrist.
Yeah.
I thought, I was like, oh, cool. This is going to be a group of people that they're going to introduce, and they're going to probably play a big role down the line.
Mm-hmm.
No, they didn't. It was, and this is something that Kristen and I looked up after, we watched the full season, because we were both so irritated at that episode that we just stopped watching it for the night. That's why I finished it till last night.
Okay.
Because after we watched season 7, we were like, no, we're done.
Yeah.
we're done for tonight. The brothers knew that the episode might be divisive amongst fans.
Yeah.
Because they knew that it kind of took you out of...
You didn't like the episode.
I didn't like the episode. The reason being is that I felt like it felt like it was a different show.
Yeah.
Everything about that, everything up until she gets to Chicago felt like Stranger Things.
Yeah.
When she gets into Chicago and then leaves Chicago, I felt like it was a bad pilot to a 90s TV show.
Okay.
My thing is that if they wanted to show that she found out that there was somebody else, that she was thrown into this and using her anger, that entire thing could have been boiled down to 10 minutes.
Okay. This is why I like having a podcast with you, because we do not see eye to eye on this.
Because it just it felt extremely out of place. I didn't like so far in the entire show, everything felt 80s. Mm-hmm. When it got to that, it felt almost comical and out of place.
Yeah. I don't know if it was comical. You definitely have 11 in this new world.
Yeah.
She's leaving Hawkins, which is pretty much the only world that she knows. Mm-hmm. So I think it feeling like it's not Stranger Things helps you. It helped me feel more invested in it, because she's in this world that she doesn't know. She's only ever known the lab.
Yeah.
A little bit of Hawkins and in that cabin with Hopper. So her in this new world, I think is I enjoyed a little bit more than you did. It did go on a little long. I'll give you that. But of all the episodes that in the way they did it too, where the episode before that ends on such a cliffhanger with the Demodogs.
Oh yeah.
And then you take a break, and it does take you out of it a little bit. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, during that whole episode with the Demodogs, I'm like, okay, what's going on with 11? We haven't seen her this whole episode.
Yeah.
Because the episode before that's when she was with her mom. It's they're probably just going to do a whole episode of 11.
Yeah.
Which I was fine with. I think it, story-wise, it works better to take a break from 11, tell everyone's story of what's going on in Hawkins.
Yeah.
And then show her story. Because my favorite part of that episode was when she sees Hopper and Mike in the void.
Yeah.
And that's when she realizes she has to go back.
Yeah.
That whole episode was worth it just for that. When she realizes my friends are in trouble, they need me.
Yeah. And
you also had her learn about not wanting to, the whole thing with the guy who worked for the lab.
Yeah.
And his family. She almost crossed that line and she didn't. So I think that it was a lot more growth. She had a lot of growth in that episode for one character, because they really didn't give her much to do the whole season.
Yeah,
that's why she had this episode.
Okay,
because most of the time she's in the cabin, or she One of my favorite things about this season was they split everyone up. Whereas last year it was all the kids together, and then Hopper and Joyce trying to find Will, and all you had your different.
And I
groups.
loved how they did that.
Yeah,
I loved how they broke everybody up.
Yeah, they broke everyone up, and I think since 11's story was one of self-discovery, you didn't need everyone else there. It's better to focus on just 11. I would have much rather they did everything with her mom in that episode too.
Yeah, see,
Like if they would have just done 11's whole self-discovery journey, like show up to her aunt's house at the end of an episode, and then do a whole episode of 11 with her mom and all of that. I think that would have been a lot better. But I still really like the way they did it. Like taking that break, like, okay, we're going to pause here and go back to it's kind of like they do in the Game of Thrones books. Yeah. Like you jump from one character to the next.
Yeah. And the thing with doing the pause and then having an whole episode based on her kind of like discovery, I'm fine with. I'm fine with that concept. My problem was that, and here, these are the specific scenes that took me out of it to where I didn't like what they did. Okay. She goes into her house. She comes across this group.
Yeah.
In the mid 80s, you had people who dressed like that, who were, pretty much punks, outcasts, stuff like that. When I say comical, I mean more comic bookish, cartoonish.
Okay. Yeah.
It was just too much. The guy with the mohawk that was maybe like 2 feet high, and then his personality, and then him seeing like the animated spiders crawl up his hand. If he hates spiders and you have the girl that can put images in your head, you would think after a while you would just go, oh, come on. Like you look at your hand, you see the spiders. Oh, come on. Would you please stop putting this in my head?
I mean, I don't know if he was. I'm pretty sure he was on drugs, so he probably wasn't thinking straight.
He's always on drugs. You can tell.
My biggest problem with that episode was I didn't care about anyone in that gang except for like I like. Yeah, I was interested in 8, and that was it.
And that and that's where I wish they would have done it differently. To where I wish that it was just 8 and maybe one other person. If they wanted to go that route and like keep her out there, what I wish they did was that she goes to her mother's, like just like they did. She spends more time trying to figure out what's wrong with her mom instead of just showing those like 1 or 2 sessions. Okay, she did. Because Fran even says that she's like reliving, like, she's like stuck in a dream or she's, doing whatever. They show that she's reliving the last thing she remembered because she went through electroshock therapy. She was stuck. She wasn't trying to tell 11 anything. And 11 found that out when she went to Chicago and realized my mom didn't want me to find her. Like, that was the sad part. Like, her mom was stuck in the most traumatic part of her life over and over and over again. And 11, unfortunately, and I know this has to do with how young she is in her character development, I thought she was more intelligent to figure out what would be somebody trying to tell her something and somebody being stuck in a loop.
Well, still, like, even with her being in the loop, 11 learns that she's not the only one.
True.
And I feel like that's going to pay off more down the line.
Yeah.
Because you still got 9 and 10. Yeah. And 1 through 7.
Yeah.
And who knows what else.
Yeah.
Because if Papa's still alive.
Yeah.
Which I thought he died. Didn't he die?
They never showed him die.
Okay.
They showed him get jumped on, but they never showed his body, and they never did anything for that.
So I was intrigued by that. I was like, ooh. So
yeah,
but I feel like there's more. I feel like this was more set up for down the line than anything.
Yeah. I just really hope that if they do it down the line, they do it differently than this one. Just because it was when they're going into the guy's apartment to take care of him. It was almost like, I know that's the 80s. I know that there was a lot of things in this season that kind of reflected like 80s, early 90s like stuff, like cartoons, TV shows, stuff like that. The gang itself was goofy. You had the strong man who was oh no, he's big,
like 20
but he's
years older
bear.
than everyone else in the gang.
Exactly.
Like that took me out of it. My biggest problem with that whole episode was the gang. I liked everything with 11 and 8.
Yeah. And my thing that I was telling my wife last night about it, because I understand why they did it. So I'm not going to say that I outright hate it. I just wish they would have done something else. Because
You wish it was executed.
there were too many, for me, there were too many moments where I rolled my eyes during that episode. But I really wish that if they really wanted to show what 8 was doing, and, 11 sees that there's another one, and then so she finds the picture, and then she could go into her void and find her and see what's going on. Because she could easily see, hey, she's going after these people and killing them.
Yeah.
She could see that in the void and know that before she even goes out there. It would have been interesting in my mind to have the opening of every season go through that storyline with 8 in little short bursts, and then connect it with 11. That was just. I'm not saying that would have been better. I'm just saying that could have been a different way of going about it.
Every episode or every season?
Every episode, the opening, have like the 45 seconds a minute, boil down the storyline of 7, and take 11 out of it and show what's going on with them. Hell, they could even left it in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, but at the same time, I think with the Netflix binging model, it works better to introduce that in the beginning and then address it later.
Well, yeah,
like a little pre-credits tease, and then later, like you get the payoff 7 episodes in.
Because I felt like there were times where they spent too much time on the gang members.
Yeah,
they
really did.
They're pointless to the entire thing. That's just. I'll stop. But
we need to move on because there's a lot of other things I want to talk about. I want to talk about. Just because it's my favorite thing from this season.
That's fine.
We talked a little bit about them splitting everyone up. So you had Mike and Will reunited.
Mm-hmm.
It was nice that Will got to do stuff this season. Because last season he was just kind of in the Upside Down and you barely saw him.
Yeah.
So you had Mike and Will and you had, what's the one's name? I always forget. My favorite part of the whole series,
Dustin and Steve.
Dustin and Steve.
Dustin and Steve.
As soon as that happened, I was like, they're not going to... Oh my God! Yes, please, all of it. Just all the two of them together stole the show for me because they were my 2 favorite characters by the end of last season.
Yeah,
and then they put them both together, and it was phenomenal.
Yeah, no, Steve definitely his character development is amazing. Like I would say, his character got the best development out of the first 2 seasons.
Yeah,
because I mean, it's like you go from like. Oh, who is this guy? This is a jerk.
Like I said,
and then you end up really liking him because, and to the point, I actually like him better with the storyline between him and Nancy.
Yeah,
I like Steve out of that.
Yeah,
Nancy's turning into a bit of a jerk.
Yeah, well, like Nancy's fine, but I like her and Jonathan better.
I like them together too better. It's just the problem is that Steve legitimately loves Stacy. I mean Nancy, and that's where
I love that there's just like babysitter memes going around. Like there's a picture of Steve with the baseball bat. And it's just the cover of the Babysitters Club.
Yeah,
like I love that. But the two of them, like their interactions, just I could watch a whole buddy cop TV show.
Yeah, between those two,
just those two. And then the way they ended the season with those two, like even after everything goes down, like a month down the line, they're still hanging out.
Yeah,
like that's good. Like that's fun to me. Like that they're still. Like that, he's playing his older brother pretty much at this point. So I really enjoyed that whole like Steve's whole story arc in the second half of the new season was phenomenal because you have him with Dustin and then he's babysitting everyone.
Yeah,
and I really like that. Dustin's storyline in the first half of the season, like with Dart, like the whole Dart thing, like once he put him in his house, like don't do that, like friends don't lie. And I was like, dude, come on, like I like you, but
he finds it cute.
Yeah, and I feel so bad for his mom.
Oh,
his
same
mom
here.
is never going to stop looking for that cat.
Yeah, I know.
And at a certain point, he has to do something about it.
Yeah.
Like I don't know.
Well, she has a kitten at the end, so.
Yeah,
but still. Yeah.
Like that, but it led to one of my favorite lines. Sorry, I had to do it. You killed my cat.
You killed my cat.
I'm trying to think of what Hopper and 11. Let's talk about that a little bit.
That was interesting. I definitely, when it comes to 11 leaving, just from the beginning with, well, I'll start from the beginning of the season.
Yeah.
I like how they referenced him leaving the food out in the woods, that he knew that she was out there, pretty much, or just
Yeah.
like assumed that she was out there. He goes into the cabin. He does the knock. 11's there. That's the big reveal that, that 11's still around. She's not in the upside
He's
down.
protecting her, yeah.
And he's protecting her. And then halfway through the first part of the season, you can just tell that there's tensions because she's not allowed to leave. She can't go outside. He's never back when he says he's going to, so she's pretty much a prisoner. And it was no difference with her being in the cabin than it was being in the lab. Granted, she was being treated better, but she was still a prisoner.
Yeah.
And then he lies to her about her mother, and that's where that's when things went south because
Yeah. Well, I feel like everything just got to. I don't think that's where things went south. I think it went south for her. Like she got really frustrated when she left and saw Mike with Max and got jealous, and then she got more upset because she's being locked away and can't be with her friend.
I mean directly between her and Hopper.
Well, yeah, but I think
when it came to their relationship, things went south when, first off, he was late coming back when he promised that he'd be back at, was it like 5:15 or 5:30? He promised he'd be back and he wasn't. And then she got really mad. The windows blew out. He left. She was cleaning, found the trap door, went down, found the box with her mother's stuff. And I feel like that is when she went from being mad at him and saying, whatever, I'll clean up, this is just a normal day, this is what happens. When she found that pamphlet of her mom, that's when she was like, no, screw this, I'm done.
I didn't look at it like that, though. I looked at it as she had this information now, and yes, he hid it from her. I didn't think she was mad about it. I thought she was just going to explore it and try to find her. Like I didn't look at it as her being mad at him and leaving because out of anger.
The reason why I bring that up is because when she was in the rail yard, and 8 was teaching her how to focus her powers, one of the memories that she brought up to pump up her anger was him telling her, "Your mom died."
She never said she died. It's she's not around anymore. She's gone. It wasn't that she died. Like, I think it was. I think
because that memory popped up when she was thinking of stuff to make her mad.
After the fact, you let that stew for a while. But I don't think her getting up and leaving the cabin was out of anger to go find her mom. I think it was more like, I'm going to go find my mom. And then after the fact, why did he lie to me? He lied to me. That fucker lied to me. I think it was more that than this guy lied to me. I'm getting the fuck out of here. I think it was more like, my mother's been alive this whole time, and he lied to me. He knew what kind of state she was in, and he lied to me. He didn't tell me where she was when I asked. That's how I read that.
Yeah.
But I did like that they did show how they got her to the cabin and the whole backstory, where she was after. Was it the second? That was the second or the third episode that gave.
It was in the middle.
How she got back. Yeah.
It was. I think it might have been.
I like the origin story because that gave you the meme of Hopper dancing.
Yeah.
Which people have taken and put to every song you can imagine, and it's wonderful.
Yeah,
and even David Harbour, who plays Hopper, is on board with it. He's like, these are wonderful.
Yeah, this is me not understanding. I didn't I didn't pick that out as a moment that would have been turned viral.
I did. I was like, the internet's going to take that and run with it.
Yeah, I didn't. I wasn't even thinking of that.
I was like, that was the one moment in the show. I was like, that's a meme. I know the internet. That's a meme, and I was not wrong. So, what did you think of the whole father-daughter dynamic between 11 and Harbour? Because personally, I really liked it.
Yeah,
because in the first season, you had him struggling because he's still getting over the loss of his daughter.
Yeah,
and these two work together really well. He's rough and gruff, but also tries to. He gives her dessert Eggos.
Yeah.
So he's trying to help her, and being nice, but at the same time still being Hopper, and she's still 11, and like they have a really good. I love the scene where he's like cooking dinner and she's just there as a ghost,
Yeah.
and he's like, Jesus Christ, no, I'm a ghost. What do you think?
I liked it. I mean, I definitely took that him being a little bit overprotective.
Mm-hmm.
That was the sign to me that he was getting back into his like father,
Yeah,
like personalities,
well,
like his father personality with her.
And all things considered, he has to be overprotective because he doesn't trust anyone.
Yeah.
And like when you have everyone separated, like having their dynamic the way it was lets you send 11 off for an episode.
Oh yeah.
And even though she's gone, it still builds on that relationship
Oh yeah.
because he's like hiding this from everyone else. So the whole time when everyone's like when Mike's talking about 11 and he's like hiding this from everyone.
Yeah.
Like you have that, and then which led to a really great reveal.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have her like trying to get in touch with everyone else. And,
Yeah.
like her getting mad at Hopper for not showing up, and
Mm-hmm.
like their dynamic worked really well together.
Well, it's set up. It's set up towards the end for 11 to do what she does at the end, and it also forces him to realize what he's doing wrong. Like
Yeah.
he was being overbearing. He was
Yeah.
being too much.
But at the same time, like he has no legal right to be housing her. Like
True.
he's- Like if they caught her, they could take her, and that's something he's trying to avoid.
Exactly,
So,
which is why I understand why he was doing it. It's no fault. Like I don't see it as a negative.
Yeah, I
he
don't
was
either.
doing what he felt best,
Yeah.
and I really liked the dynamic between the two of them throughout the entire thing because it shows that he's getting something back that he lost.
Yeah.
And she is actually getting an actual father figure besides a scientist.
Yeah.
Well, a mad scientist at this point.
Yeah. But that whole scene where they fought was phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
Like everything there was practical. Like
Yeah.
when they blew out the glass, that was actually David Harbour. They did it in one take. They talked about this in Beyond Stranger Things, and that was actually him. He's like, just do it. I'll stand here.
Yeah.
Because it was just a quick reaction, but it's better if you have him do it instead of a stunt guy.
Exactly.
So you got his face. But that whole sequence was just great. Yeah, I really liked where they ended their story too.
Yeah.
But we can get into the ending later. What did you think of Max, the new girl?
There were parts when I liked her and parts that I found her annoying.
Okay.
But I think that has to do with. Here's the thing: we've already been through one season.
Yes.
So, like you said, we know the universe. We know what's possible. We know what the boundaries are of that universe. You know that everybody else who's not part of the storyline thinks that life is going as normal and wouldn't believe anything like that could happen or would happen.
Yeah.
So after she's explained what happened,
Yeah.
she makes fun of him for it. She's, doesn't believe it. She's being snarky. She's being sarcastic. It's
As you would.
But the reason it's annoying because you as a viewer know that this is the truth.
Yeah.
You're making stupid comments when this is actually happening. But then, hang on a second. I would probably react the same way.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of.
See, I totally believed
Yeah.
her initial reaction. What I
Yeah.
didn't buy was how easily she was swayed inside the arcade. Like, I have a little bit of trouble with that, but not enough to have it bug me. Like when she finally believes him, it's like, okay, we got there. She knows. She
Yeah.
believes it.
In the arcade or out in the field?
In the arcade, like when they're outside of the office, and he's like, "You need to stop talking about this." She's like, "Wait, are you for real?"
Yeah.
Like that moment, I'm like,
I don't know if she totally believed it then. I think
feel
she just wanted it
she was
to
more
stop.
convinced. She was more convinced then. I felt
Because
Like,
I didn't think that she totally believed it until they were out in the field working on everything. Like
Yeah, and
that's
then
when it became real
and then
for
seeing
her. Yeah.
seeing it, like that definitely helps.
Yeah.
But I feel like that was more to like her in the arcade was like, maybe he's not lying.
Yeah.
So I feel like that helped her a lot. What'd you think of her brother?
For the antagonist, for like a bully, I thought he was great.
Yeah.
Especially again, like this is back when I was talking about how they threw the '80s in your face.
Yeah.
Like everything about him was mid '80s, stereotyped, like
Kiefer Sutherland.
yeah,
and-
pretty
and,
much. Yeah, just
Stand
like
By
the
Me.
mullet, the car, the attitude, the high school kid trying to grow a mustache.
Yeah.
Like,
It took me a few episodes, and my wife pointed out, he's the Red Ranger. And I was like, what? And I was like, holy shit, that is the Red Ranger. He plays the Red Ranger in the new movie.
yeah,
I was like, oh, yeah, I remember hearing he was going to be in this. Okay.
yeah.
I hate him. I absolutely hate everything about him. They set him up to be like Steve. I was like, are they going to give him a redemption arc like they did Steve last year? And then they tried to, and I'm like, I still don't care.
I don't even
still
think
like
that was a redemption arc.
Well, no,
I just
they
think it was.
they showed like the whole scene with his dad, like so he's getting abused. I'm like, okay, it's not making me feel any sympathy for him though.
I don't think it's supposed to. See, the way that I took it was this kid's a jerk.
Yeah,
He's an ass. Yeah, his dad was being quote unquote like abusive towards him, but at the same time, like you walked in on your son in that exact situation and he said the things that he said, you would be mad.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have pushed him up against a wall
Yeah.
and, called him names, but then again, it's the 80s.
yeah,
You've got a father, you've got a guy who is probably in his early 40s, maybe
Yeah.
mid 40s, who is a product of his time, for better or for worse,
yeah,
and that's how he handled the situation. The kid's a jerk. If he wasn't such a jerk and wouldn't be acting out on everything on his stepsister
yeah,
to begin with, I may have. If he was somebody that did some good things, but then acted out when he was just angry,
yeah,
then having that thing with his dad throwing him up against the wall, then maybe I'd feel some sympathy. It's that, okay, this is a good kid that acts out occasionally, who gets abused by his dad, so then that's where the anger comes from. Okay, that sucks.
But he's just a jackass.
He's a flat-out jackass. So that's why I don't like...
Yeah.
That whole thing to me just shows
Yeah.
that he's a bad guy who has a kind of a bad situation at home. And that's it.
And like him being the bad guy the whole time worked well for Max's story, because by the end of it, when Max actually stands up to him, like that's when her. Like the whole time you're like, is she really going to stick around with these guys? Because she can get out at any time. But
Yeah.
once she stands up to him to defend everyone,
Yeah.
then that's her saying, no, I'm part of this group now.
Yeah.
Back the hell off.
Yeah.
Like, and it made me like Max
Yeah.
even more, because I like Max.
Yeah.
Great. Like she's fun, and I feel bad for Dustin in the whole thing. But good for Lucas.
Yeah. Exactly.
While we're on the subject of Lucas, I want to talk about his sister, because she was my favorite new character.
She was, yeah. She was
every
good.
time she was on
Yeah.
screen, she just stole the show for me.
Mhm.
Like, every time she had a line, like, no wonder you're a nerd.
Yeah.
Like everything she said was just wonderful. So that was a nice little surprise. And I feel like after the SNL sketch they did last year, where they're like, it was like Keenan playing Lucas's dad,
Yeah.
and they're like, "What the hell are you doing with these white boys? No, you're not going to look for him. You're not fighting any Demigorgon." Like, I feel like maybe that was just a little bit of a response to that.
Mhm.
But, there's not really much to say on the whole Mike thing.
I don't know.
Mike's
The
storyline.
thing with Mike, I feel like really nothing changed with him.
Yeah, he kind of stood still, like character wise.
Well,
Like,
because I think his character development was pretty much all of season 1.
yeah,
Because it was him becoming just part of the group. Because was it in season 1 they kind of explain it, because Lucas and Dustin talk about it when they're riding their bikes, where I think Lucas brings it up to Dustin, that, hey, Mike is taking this hard because Mike and Will were the two originals, and then Dustin and Lucas joined up later.
Yeah.
So when it comes to friendships, pretty much, they knew each other first, and then Dustin and then Lucas came into the scene. So Mike had the hardest time with Will disappearing, that I feel like in the second season, all they really did was focus on Mike being a friend to Will, and being upset that Eleven's not there. Yeah. And I really think that's all they really needed him for.
Yeah, I really think
in this season. Like, he had almost no dialogue. If you really look at all the characters.
I think part of that is, like, I guess they had some issues with him on set. And I'm joking. This definitely wasn't an issue. But since he was in it, he came to set and just kept saying "fuck" every take.
Yeah.
Because I haven't seen the new it, but I hear he swears like the whole time.
Yeah, he does.
So, like, I want to see the behind the scenes footage of him just messing up takes and swearing. Like, give me an R-rated Stranger Things where he just says "fuck" the whole time. Like, I'll watch that.
Yeah, the brother said that he came back with a little bit of a dirtier mouth from the set of It than before.
And you really didn't need, like, his story, like him saying still character-wise and like longing for 11 and everything works. It was a little boring, I thought. Like, they
didn't really spend that much time on him either.
At the same time, like, it had its payoff because at the end, like, he's doing this every night, like calling for 11. Mm-hmm. She sees it, and it's a nice moment. But I'm curious to see what they do with next season.
Yeah,
I feel like
are they slated to make a 3 yet?
Oh yeah,
okay,
they are, and they have to move fast because they're growing fast.
Yeah, well,
the next season they're going to be in high school.
They're in that.
They have to do a time jump. Like, the way the season ended, it's like, is this where it's going to pick up? But no, they can't do that because realistically, they're shooting a year later, and everyone's going to be like a foot taller.
Yeah.
So, my second favorite character, was the journalist.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
And I want to talk a little bit about why. I don't want to spend too much time on this, but there was a show a few years back with Matthew Perry called Go On.
Okay.
And he was on that show.
Yeah.
And he was the best part of that show. And then he showed up on this talking to Hopper in the first episode. And I was like, oh my God, that's him. That's the guy from Go On. And I was like, I hope we see more of him. Like, that was fun. And then when they did the whole Nancy and Jonathan story arc with him at their place, like, the whole breakfast scene, just, I lost it. Like, that was so perfectly well done.
Yeah.
And it was like just that addition for, like, all the new characters added something.
Yeah.
And no one took anything away from anyone else. Like, they all added a little bit of flavor to their roles and helped keep it new and exciting.
Yeah.
And so, like, that, he added something to the Nancy storyline. You had Bob adding stuff to the Joyce storyline. Paul Reiser added more to the company side of things. And he was like he was the go-between between the people we followed last season and this company that's still doing weird shit in the woods. So
that's a good way to put it.
Yeah. But I liked him. Let's talk about Bob a little bit.
I really
liked Bob.
That upset me.
It upset me too. I kind of saw it coming, though.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you why. I think it was season 6 of 24.
Okay.
And Sean Astin was one of the CTU guys.
Okay.
And on this is going to be spoilers for season 6 of 24.
Okay.
But I'm going to do this anyway because it needs to be said. So he was one of the CTU guys. At one point, CTU, the counterterrorist unit, gets attacked with, I think, some kind of nerve gas.
Okay.
So everyone's locked down in their rooms. And so, like, Jack Bauer and his daughter, for some reason, 24 in a nutshell.
Yeah.
Jack Bauer and his daughter, for some reason, are in one room. Sean Astin's in one room, and got other people in other rooms. And they need to vent the building.
Yeah.
And Sean Astin's character is in the room that's closest to the switch.
Yeah.
So he has to sacrifice himself in almost the exact same way that he did in Stranger Things. And as soon as they said somebody has to go turn the breakers on, I was like, you bastards, you're going to do the same exact thing that they did on 24 with Sean Astin. And pretty much shot for shot, same exact thing.
Yeah.
No demidogs.
Just dogs.
Yeah, no dogs in 24.
Yeah.
But I was like, no, like, it took me so out of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I guarantee I'm about the only person that it took out of it.
Yeah.
But it was like so similar. I was like, why does Sean Astin have to keep dying like this?
Yeah, well, the part, I'd never watched that season.
Yeah.
I never watched the show. But
That's why I said it's only me.
Yeah.
I'm the only one upset about this.
Well, you're not the only one upset about the fact that he dies.
No.
Because, I mean, like Barbara, like, she didn't need to die, I feel. Well, for storyline's sake, I don't really
You don't want to
know.
be on Stranger Things and have a B in your name.
No, you don't.
You're going to die.
Did you like his last name, though?
What was his last name?
Newbie?
Bob Newby? Superhero?
Bob Newby, superhero?
Yeah.
But the fact that his last name was Newbie and he was a new character.
Oh, I
felt like they were playing noob. Like, I felt like they were playing
my
on
favorite.
that.
My favorite thing about Bob was just like
He was a
Sean
normal
Astin,
guy.
Yeah, he was what these kids would be like when they grow up.
Yeah,
Like if they didn't go through all this weird shit.
yeah,
Because he's the one who founded the AV Club. And
Yeah.
he loves like the treasure maps and stuff.
Yeah.
And I love the callback to Goonies where he's just like, X marks the spot.
mm-hmm.
Is that where the buried treasure is?
Yeah.
So it was nice just having an actual Goonie there.
Yeah, like a normal person.
Yeah.
And that's what I liked about him, because you could tell that, I mean, at first the way that things were going, you knew that Will's mom liked him, hence
Yeah.
they were together. But halfway through the season, they kind of gave the appearance that she really didn't, like, you didn't know if she was actually liking the relationship at that point or not.
Yeah.
And then they go to the hospital and then they're talking, and then that's where, like, it was founded that
I think the whole stress of not telling him what actually happened to Will
was eating at her.
Yeah. And that would eat on anyone's
Yeah.
relationship.
Yeah. But then towards the end in the hospital, when he finds everything out,
Yeah.
and then she talks to him, and he says, well, you warned me. You said this isn't a normal family. And
I
then
didn't think you meant this.
Yeah. Exactly. But he still showed that he wanted
Yeah.
to stay and he cared. And that's what upsets me, because you had a person that could be a foundation for her with everything that happened, where
Yeah.
regardless of what happens in the other seasons, I feel like him being there for her would eventually tame her character down, because she pretty much played the same person in the second episode as she played in the first.
Yeah.
I mean, they showed that she was getting a little better in some places, but then the panic would come back where she couldn't find Will.
And he was just in the bathroom peeing.
Exactly. So I feel like having a character to kind of ground her a little bit, because if they do a third season and she's still this, like, you know, manic, panicky
Yeah.
mother, even though she's not, you know, like keeping him from doing stuff, which is good. But if she's still playing that panicky, nervous, like, you know, shaking chihuahua type
Yeah.
personality, it's going to get old very fast.
Marlin and Finding Nemo. Where's my son?
Exactly. That's going to get old fast.
I want to talk about the car scene between Bob and Will quick.
Okay.
I thought maybe Bob might have been evil off of that scene. What did you think? Did you get that impression at all?
No.
Okay. It might just be, I think it was just me and like my wife. Like he might be evil. Like the way he was just talking about, like the way it was shot and the music played, it was kind of like, is he trying to manipulate him into surrendering to this thing?
I just think it was.
I didn't know what his intentions were.
I just think it was somebody who's good natured trying to give advice on
I
something
know
that
he's
he
not
really
evil,
didn't
but
know.
That seemed like it was so early
Yeah.
on in the season. It was just like maybe he knows more than he's letting on. Like it could have been cool if they went that route and they
Yeah.
didn't, which is fine. But I was just like, I was questioning him for
Yeah.
a little bit. I was like,
And,
could he have? Was he like?
any questioning of his character when it came to
Yeah.
either being good natured or bad natured, to me, flew out the window when Jonathan and Will were talking in the bedroom and they're talking about
Oh, he's
music.
like-
And then was it Kenny Rogers? Is that the person they bring up? Or
Yeah.
or some like top
It was
40 soft
Bowie
rock.
or-
It wasn't. It was Bowie or yeah.
Michael McDowell?
I don't think it was that. It was more
Kenny Loggins,
Kenny Loggins. Okay,
I think.
we
I don't
think.
know. I binged it.
It's okay, and it's been a while since I saw that episode. So, but he comes in and he says, "Did you say Kenny Loggins or Kenny Rogers, whatever?" And it's like, "Oh, I love that guy." And then Will and Jonathan both look at each other and just laugh because he just said, normal people or average people like this. Like, you would rather hang out with Bowie because he's cool.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah. Well, then Bob comes in and he goes for the normal person, and then they laugh at
of all
each
the
other.
VHS tapes that they brought home, it's like, oh, Mr. Mom.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Perfect. And he's the only one laughing.
Paul Reiser was good. There's not much to say about him, though. I liked him as the scientist.
I feel like with having the ice cold government worker scientist from the first season, I liked how they had at least one of them, or even the team. Well, really just him that had more of he works for the government, he works at the lab, but he still has his own moral strings pulling at him.
Yeah.
Because at first I just thought him squeezing the blue ball was just, the stress of being his job. But then the times he would pick it up and squeeze it were when I feel towards the middle and end of the show was him dealing with the moral dilemma of this is what I have to do.
Yeah.
But I need to find some way to work with the family. Like he was trying to find his moral middle ground between...
And he finds it by the end of the show.
Yeah.
Like when he gives the adoption papers to Hopper.
Birth certificate.
Well,
adoption papers, birth certificate.
Well, both, because they give her the last name Hopper.
Yeah.
So Jane Hopper. I just like 11 better. I feel like they're just going to call her L.
They are. It doesn't matter. All that matters
or
is
she's
that
going to go by Jane. And
it's an official name.
It's an official
on
name,
paper.
So.
I mean, there's a lot of people who have their legal name, and then they go by You've got people who have the name of Robert, and they go by Bob.
Yeah.
Or William, and they go by Bill. And I know that that's general, which I still don't understand how you get one out of the other, but whatever.
I still don't know how you get Dick from Richard.
I don't understand.
That sounded way dirtier than I meant it to be.
It's okay. Don't worry about it. But anyway, what did you think of the different themes that they threw out in these different episodes? The one that was...
What kind of themes do you
Okay, like the Ghostbusters episode.
Oh, I love the Ghostbusters episode. I loved it because they're all so happy to be Ghostbusters. They're arguing about who's Venkman.
Yeah.
And then they're like, oh shit, no one else dressed up.
Yeah.
Oops.
And then you've got and then out of that, at the very end of that episode, when he finds Dart for the first time in the trash can, he opens it up and you hear the growl and it's Donna, 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 like it ends on the Ghostbusters theme, and I was like, oh my God. What did you think of? I know we kind of talked about Dart and friends don't lie, but how did you feel about that development with it going from a slug to being a frog to?
It reminded me a lot of the movie Evolution.
I wanted to bring that up. I really wanted to bring that up. So I'll let you go on how you felt about the dog thing.
That just occurred to me. I haven't really thought about it that much. I kind of figured that's the way they were going to go with it.
Yeah.
And it makes sense. But yeah, it reminded me a lot of that. And like I said before, the whole Dustin lying about it just kind of irritated me.
Yeah.
So.
Well, because he thought it was cute.
Yeah.
Because it liked nougat, like him. Because nobody else did.
Yeah.
But and then,
it had a good payoff. The best thing about the show is they set things up and then they pay off in ways that you don't expect.
Yeah, exactly.
Like the whole Steve and Dustin thing. I didn't expect that from last season, but
I think it would have been funny. I would have hated it, but I think it would have been funny if that because of that connection, that dog or the demi-dog or whatever, because of the nougat thing, it follows them out and becomes his pet.
I feel like it's gonna.
It became tame.
I feel like eventually they turn into the Demogorgons, though.
I don't know because they didn't show it. That to me made me think of Tremors and Tremors 2.
Okay.
Because in the first Tremors there are these giant worms.
Yeah.
And in the first season it's a humanoid. In the second Tremors, 3 little 2-legged creatures pop out of each worm. In the second season of Stranger Things, they're dogs. They're tiny little 4-legged things. So I kind of felt like the dynamic was different. You had this one big thing, And then here you have a bunch of small things. There's
Yeah.
that. But the thing with evolution and
Yes.
that movie,
Yes.
I love that movie, by the way.
I do too.
Okay. It struck me when he goes down into the tunnel, when Hopper goes down into the tunnels for the first time,
Yeah.
and he gets stuck, and the little feather things are floating around, and they show like the dogs. It struck me, and I looked over at Chris, and I was like, "This is like evolution," and she looked at me because she didn't remember it, and I'm like, "Okay." And then for anybody listening, the reason why it reminds me of evolution, not the entire season, just this one aspect of it. In evolution, an asteroid hits, doesn't create a big crater, it just punches a hole in the ground, and it goes into a cave. That asteroid, meteor, whatever, creates its own atmosphere inside the cave, eventually creating creatures that come up out of it because they can eventually breathe oxygen. I find it funny that that same dynamic is played out in this show. You have an underground cavern that I think it makes on its own. It made all these tunnels, but the atmosphere is different. And it's this like alien in an ecosystem underneath, just like in evolution.
Yeah.
So that paralleled it for me, and I thought that was funny.
Yeah. Do you think that Hopper and Dustin being sprayed by those things in the tunnels is set up for next season? Do you think anything's going to come out of that, or do you think that was just kind of?
I don't know because I didn't think about that.
Okay.
It's possible
Food for
because,
thought.
I mean, it's possible because was it Will got coughed up a slug?
Yeah.
How did he get the slug in him?
He was in the upside down.
No. I know he was in the upside down.
I mean, I thought they pulled like a thing out of his mouth when they rescued him.
Well, I think he might have had gunk in his mouth or something,
Yeah.
but he eventually coughed up a slug.
Yeah.
So what I'm thinking is that, and there was that stuff floating around too.
Yeah.
So like in Alien Covenant, there's those little pod.
seen it.
Yeah, okay. Well, I'm going to say something, but it's not pivotal.
Yeah.
It's something that they show in the preview.
Yeah.
You had little spore things that shoot out stuff. And that got into people and things happened. I wouldn't be surprised if it's the same dynamic that those little pod things shot out spores and that it planted into the lungs, and that's where that's where the slugs grow out of.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if, now that you say that, if Dustin and Hopper are going to be coughing up slugs,
Or if something else is going to happen.
yeah,
Because I don't think they might address. I think that they have to address the Mind Slayer again, or maybe the Mind Slayer is just the one manipulating everything in the Upside Down.
because of how they ended the show.
Yeah, so I don't know if that's going to be the big bad next season, but I
Yeah.
feel like it's going to be manipulating whatever is the big bad because we're jumping a year.
Yeah.
So maybe he comes up with another plan because I think they can defeat him pretty easily now because they know how to.
Yeah.
So I'm sure he's figured that out. So, we're about at an hour.
So much for a mini cast.
Yeah. Well, this wasn't going to be a mini. I knew this was going to be a long one.
Yeah.
Speed around. Let's talk about a few things we didn't talk about yet.
Okay.
Nancy and Jonathan, for it or against it?
I'm for it, especially since I found out that they're actually that the actors are actually dating.
Oh, are they?
Yeah, the actors are
Did
actually.
you see that
dating.
he got kicked out of the country, or he wasn't allowed back in?
He wasn't. He was detained. He missed the red carpet event
Yeah, he missed the
because he
premiere.
had cocaine on him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I don't-
my response to that was just don't travel with cocaine.
Just don't travel with
if,
cocaine.
if you want to do cocaine, do it on your own time. But like, come on, dude.
Mm-hmm.
Don't leave the country and then come back with it. Like, duh.
Yeah.
Like, I don't do drugs, but I know that you don't travel with them.
Yeah. So I don't know what's going to happen with that.
Idiot.
But
Joyce. Let's talk about Joyce, where she's at the end of the season. Bob's gone.
Mhm.
She has both of her kids back for good. And I feel like their relationship is better by the end of it. Like,
Yeah.
that whole scene with them in the cabin
yeah.
was phenomenal. It
Yes.
reminded me a lot of like The Exorcist.
Mhm.
And, I really like that scene.
Yeah, same here. And I really think that eventually, I feel like it's going to happen. I feel like Joyce and Hopper are going to get back together.
If they were ever really together.
No, they were.
Yeah, like in high school.
Well, they were dating prior to season 1 happening because the deputies make a comment.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and the deputies make a comment about how they used to date. So whether or not they were just a high school thing for the 4 years, or if they were together for a little bit after high school,
I think that's the way they're going.
Mm-hmm.
From the internet.
Yeah,
That's what David Harbour wants to happen.
yeah,
I'm pretty sure David Harbour like grew up in the 80s with a crush on Winona Ryder. And
Yeah.
he's just like full on trying to make this happen.
yeah.
Maybe not just on the show.
You
But
never know.
They're dynamic. Like if you look at like some of the stuff online, like the two of them together, like they have a blast.
Yeah.
And I would love to see them get together
Mhm.
like next season. So I'm looking forward to the possibility of that.
Yeah.
Because they ended at the snowball pretty well too.
Yeah, they did.
Let's talk about the snowball.
Yeah.
Everyone's paired off by the end. I don't know who that girl is that started dancing with Will, but if anyone came up to me and was like, "You want to dance, Zombie Boy?" I'd be like, "Fuck you!
Ooh,
Don't call
here's-
me Zombie Boy."
Here's the thing. I like the fact that he just accepted it because that's how you take command of something like that.
Yeah.
Coming from somebody that had names and everything else when I was younger,
Oh, really?
taking ownership of it and just going with it helps.
Yeah.
Because as soon as you take something that everybody kind of throws at you as like an insult and you just kind
I-
of wear it as a badge, people go, "Oh, okay." And it typically just ends.
Yeah.
And so I feel like if he just takes that on and takes it on as like a
Yeah.
nickname, because I mean, to be perfectly honest, Zombie Boy, it can go either way. It could either mean something really bad, or it can be like, "Hey, why is he called Zombie Boy? Oh, well, get this. He disappeared and all this other stuff happened." And
They thought he was dead. They had his funeral.
exactly. And now he's back. That's why we call
They
him
had
Zombie
They
Boy.
had the body.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, I get that, but at the same time, I'm like, who the hell is this chick that's just calling him Zombie Boy? Like, she came out of nowhere, didn't she?
She did, but I liked it because they are at a dance.
Yeah.
And Dustin was going up to a random group of girls asking, which I thought was great because he did what's the hardest thing to do at
Yeah.
that age. And he went up to a group.
I felt like I was Dustin in high, like
Yeah,
that age.
because,
I
I mean, it's like
that
you're-
was me. Like
you
I
got, like-
felt, and I feel
Yeah.
like a lot of people just like felt for him, like oh
Yeah, exactly.
And then he's sitting there crying, and I was like,
But it's the fact that after his first no,
yeah,
he went again.
yeah,
That's the
like
thing.
that was the like that was impressive. And,
That is an accomplishment.
and then he's like, I'm not Steve Harrington.
yeah.
Um,
But then Nancy gets
and then
involved.
Nancy,
Yeah.
like, like that scene with Nancy was my favorite.
Yeah.
because then I watched the first 2 episodes of the first season last
Yeah.
night, and then like the first scene with him, and the first time you see Nancy is in the scene with Dustin where he
Yeah.
offers her pizza,
Exactly.
and she just kind of slams the door on his face.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, he's her favorite.
But see, there's that, and then there's also other scenes where whenever Nancy gets brought up in that group,
Yeah,
he's the one that brings her up. He's the one that said, why can't we get her to dress up like a princess or something for one of their like games or whatever. And Mike said something about how, well, she's not, like we're not 5 or 6 anymore, and she's,
yeah,
older and something like that. But those two had the most interaction besides Mike with his sister.
Yeah.
And I thought the way he did his hair was hysterical.
yeah. I thought it was too.
It was perfect 80s though. Like that's the thing. Like it was perfect 80s for what he did.
One of my hopes for next season is we got a little bit of a glimpse into everyone's household life. I'd like a little bit more, maybe not too much, maybe just a tad more than we got this season.
Yeah.
Like before everything goes down.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely want to see more of Lucas's family because his sister was hysterical.
Yeah.
I like Dustin's mom. I hope they don't kill her cat again.
Yeah.
If that's just a recurring thing on Stranger Things, though, like,
Yeah.
I hope not.
Do you think Mike's family is going to be, because so far Mike has your nuclear family.
Yeah.
Lucas
I think
has a
that's-
nuclear family. Dustin has his mom. I don't think the dad's there. I think his dad probably passed away or left. And then you have Will comes from a broken family that's a little bit more broken than Dustin's. And then you have now Max, who has parents that
Are remarried.
that are remarried. I wonder, because they haven't shown yet somebody's family go through a divorce.
I think they're going to, and I think it's going to be Mike and Nancy's parents because not just because of the scene with Bill.
Yeah, I'm not referencing that too much.
Well,
but
I think it's part of it.
Yeah,
because
part,
the whole time, every time you see their mom,
Yeah.
she has a glass of wine.
Yeah,
Like every time, like she's reading, she's cooking dinner, she's eating. Like she always has a glass of wine.
Yeah.
And the husband just doesn't give a shit about anything.
yeah,
Like he's just on the couch. Like
yeah, and he's in his own
reading.
world.
Yeah. So I feel like that's going to happen, and I wouldn't be surprised if they actually went that route with Nancy's mom and Billy. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if they did that.
Yeah, because
So
that's one thing that I was thinking. Because I definitely
that
like this
was
scene.
about the only scene with him in it that I thought was entertaining, just for entertainment value. Every other scene, it was, well, I guess the fight too.
Yeah,
But like that was the first time I was like, oh, this is actually a fun scene with him. And,
Yeah.
like that was it. Like, everything else is like, oof.
well,
So,
it showed the manipulative side of him.
yeah.
And that's what I liked. And it was that scene after the thing with his dad that even drove it home that his dad doing what he did
Yeah.
it has no effect on his personality. This guy is just a pure jerk.
Yeah.
So that's when any type of, if they were going to do something where he did have like a coming to, or to be perfectly honest, I was hoping he was going to get eaten the entire season.
Yeah.
I think it would have been better if they just would have had him be eaten, and they could have just played it off that he ran away or something, or something happens where he crashes
he's on
his
Stranger
car.
Things with a name that starts with B. So
Yeah. Or something where like he crashes his car because he was driving like an idiot. So
He
like
is.
maybe he could have had like the demo dogs could have came at him and he could have hit a tree
yeah.
or something.
We got Justice for Barb, which I kind of didn't expect to actually get Justice for Barb, but they did.
Yeah.
So that was a nice ending, and I just love the reporter sitting out on the side of the road with them clearing out the lab, like, "See ya."
Yeah.
Like, and then the soldiers just like give him the finger.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, that's a perfect way to wrap up this story.
Yeah.
I'm curious to see what happens in the next season. Hopefully,
Yeah.
we don't have to wait more than a year.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like the Halloween time
Is good
release
for
was
it.
Good. Plus, you got that awesome trailer with Thriller.
Mm-hmm.
That was the perfect trailer. I didn't watch anything besides that for this.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is exciting. Like,
Mhm.
And I don't watch trailers anymore, but
No.
I watched a few out of Comic-Con, and that was like one of them.
Yeah.
I think we talked about it on the show at one point.
I think we did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I got nothing else on Stranger Things.
For Stranger Things, there's just, it would be better to have a podcast just for the show to go and talk about it after each episode because
Yeah.
there's so much that happens in it that it's hard
Yeah.
to just come it off. It's hard just to think about the top of
this
your
is
head.
just like our thoughts and our
Yeah.
opinions on it. So, if it was a longer show, like
Yeah.
if it was a week by week show, I think we probably would be doing that
Yeah.
podcast instead of what we do.
Yeah.
But since it's all at once, like binge it in a week,
Yeah.
and then you're good, I think this is the way to go.
Yeah. It's just,
I mean, there's enough there
Yeah.
that you could break it down episode by episode, which would be cool. We can talk about maybe doing that. But, I'm really excited for the future of Stranger Things.
Same
and
here.
I can't wait to see what happens next season.
and I hope there's a 3 in the title.
Did we talk about that on the recording or just
No, we
before?
didn't.
It is what it is. Like I'm fine with them calling it Stranger Things 2 in the titles.
Yeah.
I don't like that they changed the IMDb thing to it.
Yeah.
Because now it's season 2. Like I get that it's its own, like it's more cinematic and it's a whole big story that you watch at once because that's how people watch Netflix shows. But I don't need it to be Stranger Things 2. Just Stranger Things season 2. Like that's all I need. I don't need it to be 2. But if it's a miniseries, fine. Like if we're gonna go
Yeah.
that route, that's fine.
The reason why I
I'll
like
accept
it is because it plays off the whole 80s thing.
Yeah, I guess that's true too.
Because a lot of 80s sequels had 2
Okay,
in
yeah.
the title.
Now I save this for the very end because if you've made it to this point, you get the gold star, and I'm going to make a recommendation to everyone right now. If you listen to this whole Stranger Things episode, what I need you to do right now is go download the Stranger Things mobile game.
Yes.
Because if you love Stranger Things, you will love this game. It is phenomenal. It's 8-bit. You get to play as Hopper and all the kids. You get to explore Hawkins.
Yeah.
It's a blast. I've been playing it for the last few weeks, just getting hyped for the season.
What they need to do
There's
is
a lot
make
of
a Grand
in-jokes.
Theft Auto Hawkins.
It pretty much is that because you just go around and you can beat everyone up. Like, it's wonderful. So yeah, go do that. We're going to be back next week with another episode. We're going to talk about that here in a second. But
Okay.
yeah, so for You Have to Watch This, I'm Alan.
And I am Ryan.
And this podcast has been Finger Licking Good.